Welcome back to Copper Star Precision, the channel dedicated to getting you more points at your competitive shooting matches. Here we are with a new month, which means a new NRL22 Course of Fire. Just looking through the stages, this looks like a pretty fun one. A couple things we haven't seen before, lots of double taps on this Course of Fire. Usually we don't do so much of that, but it's going to be interesting if you have target hangers that when you hit the target, they start wiggling a lot and move. You're going to have to hurry up and wait. It will also be a very interesting match for the semi-auto division. You'll see some fast times, and those follow-up shots can really help, but it might be a game of hurry up and wait for those targets to settle down because there are so many double taps. As always, if you're new here, we kind of go over strategy, tips, and tricks. I try and give you multiple different ways to approach a stage so you can find what works best for you, and generally you'll do best at what you practice. So hopefully I'll give you some ideas and help you maximize your points at the match. As always, for Patreon members, we have these dry fire targets. They're calibrated for 10, 15, 20, and 25 yards that you can set up. Just do some dry fire practice in the backyard or in the house or something like that. And with all that said, we got a lot of stages to cover, so let's talk about stage number 1, which is called Darren's Dual Drums. They added the second barrel for the prop for this season, so we might see more stages like this with multiple barrels, and this is one of them. The stage description is as follows. On the start signal, engage the targets in the following order and manner. We have a vertical drum, large then small, horizontal drum, large twice, vertical drum, large twice, horizontal drum, small twice, vertical drum, small twice, horizontal drum, small then large. So again, as we see kind of the theme of this match, a lot of double taps. Not a very super complicated stage, but I know the order is going to trip some people up. So for this, I've made a nice little dope card. Show it to the camera there. I'll probably put a little picture of it. But the way this dope card works is I have two different colors. So blue and green. Green for ground, I guess. That's going to be the horizontal barrel, and blue for the other barrel. So generally speaking, when we set up these targets, usually it's small on top, large on the bottom. So it kind of looks like a snowman. And that's the way I have my dry fire targets set up, and probably the way they're going to be at the match. So instead of doing large and small, because it's just one more thing to remember, large is on the bottom, right, or small is on the top, something like that. One more thing to remember, if you know the order of the targets, because you've looked at them downrange through your binoculars or something like that, I know the large is the bottom, so I'm going to say B and T for bottom and top. So dope card says bottom top, and then I have a line. Every time there's a line in my dope card, it means I have to change positions. So it's going to be bottom top and move, bottom bottom, move, bottom bottom, move, top move, top move, top bottom. Done with the stage. Luckily, we only have one target distance, so it's a double hanger, 2 and 2.5 inch at 80 yards. So we're going to dial. So my dope is 9/10 of a mil. So we're going to dial. We're going to set parallax, set it and forget it, and yeah, pretty much all there is to it. As far as gear goes, there's a couple different ways to approach this stage. Depends what you like to do. I think a lot of people are going to go with either a single bag or dual bag solution. Why do I say 2 bags? Well, we can, since we're moving between the props so much, borrow. This is a OG Game Changer, sticky Game Changer from Armageddon Gear. This is a regular Game Changer, both with light fill. So these are very similar bags, but chances are people have these at the match. So instead of, most people are going to probably take a position here with the bag at the back and a bag here, just like that on here, and just alternate between a kneeling position and another kneeling position. So this is one option, and I suggest taking 2 bags, because then all you have to do is move the rifle. You're not moving the bag. So first position, get nice and flat, find the target, and we're going to engage. The first engagement is going to be bottom top. Okay, and then we're just going to simply move over, shimmy over, and then with the horizontal barrel, I think the only real challenge here is going to be making sure that your rifle isn't canted to one side, and that comes with good bag placement. So you definitely want this bag placed right at the apex, right? You don't want your bag hanging off here, because when you go to put your rifle down, you're going to fall off, and you have the tendency to cant the rifle to one side. So take an extra second. This isn't the time stage, there's no bonus points. Take an extra second at the beginning of the stage, get that nice and settled right at the apex, and it should be supported here. I have some cinder blocks. Shouldn't be rolling away on you. But with that, we just take a low kneel position like this, or one knee up, so we can use our leg as rear support, and we just alternate back and forth. Another option is, and probably what I'm going to go with, I always like multiple points of contact, so I'm going to actually use bipod and rear bag. So we're going to clamp this guy on here, slide it all the way up the arc rail, and I like something like this. Just gives me a little bit more stability, multiple points of contact. And this is like rock solid. Now I am moving from a standing position, and probably, here it's the same thing, and then having these nice spiked feet really digs into that barrel there. The rubber feet probably work just as well. You may want to loosen your bipod cant, so if you aren't perfectly center, you can make on-the-fly adjustments. But this is stupid stable. This is basically modified prone. But I guess one of the drawbacks of doing it this way is I am kind of going from a standing to a kneeling. So whereas before, I can take a high kneel and a low kneel. If you have problems getting up out of a kneeling position, maybe the bipod is not the way for you to do it. But I'm going to do it this way, and let's see how this looks like in practice. All right, so we're going to practice this stage with the bipod method, see if it works. If not, maybe we try with the 2-bag method, but here we go. Timer goes beep, I have all gear in hand. Just going to take my time, place the rifle down, get it settled, make sure those claws aren't going to fall off the front. And once we get it settled like this, we are rock solid. We're going to have plenty of time on this stage. First we need to find the targets, and we're going to go bottom and top. Perfect. Now we're moving. Just going to move the rifle, bring the bag with us, try and get that natural point of aim right on the targets. There they are. Now we're going to go bottom, bottom. It's only one distance, so we're going to set our dope and parallax. Don't even have to think about it. Transition back. A little bit more gear to manage on the clock. This is another bottom, bottom engagement. But these multiple points of contact are extremely, extremely stable. I'm just taking a little bit of time. That was our 6th shot, and that beep means we have 1 minute left, so we're right on pace. Now this one's going to be top, top. Next one's also going to be top, top. So yeah, a little bit more gear to manage on the clock, a little bit more movement. But if you can manage the gear on the clock, my goodness, is this stable. And it's basically 2 modified prone positions. So what was that? Top, 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 top. Last 2, 30 seconds left, plenty of time. This one's going to be a top-bottom engagement. And that's it. So about 20 seconds left, talking through that. Stupid stable like this, but I completely see the allure of just using a 2-bag solution and going in a kneeling position. But this is stupid stable. So especially if you have a windy day, you might want to consider taking this approach, just so you make sure that there's no wobble, no stability issues. And if you make a bad wind call, you know it was a bad wind call and not you or the rifle or anything like that. So basically constructing 2 modified prone positions for this stage. And that's how I'm going to do it. Let me know how you're going to do it down in the comments. But we got to jump into the next stage and figure out what we're going to do for that one. So stay tuned for stage 2. All right, stage 2, Levi's ladder. So ladder stage with a little bit of a twist. We have a KYL rack at 40 yards. And the stage description is as follows. On the start signal, engage the targets with 2 shots each, large to small. You will change rungs after every 2 shots. And after the smallest target has been engaged twice, you will take a prone supported position next to the ladder and engage the largest and smallest targets with 1 shot each. You can utilize any rungs you choose, and rungs can be repeated. And I think that's the key. So typically on ladder stages, pyramid stages, there's usually a caveat that says something like, you can't repeat the rungs. So, strategy for this stage. I think what we need to worry about is that 1/4 inch KYL target. So let's work backwards from there. What is your most stable position on the ladder? For me, it's usually the bottom rung. Lower center of gravity usually means more stable. So I'm gonna end here, but I can't use the previous 2 shots from here. So, and this target is the next smallest target. So I'm probably gonna be on rung 2, and which means probably go rung 3 and rung 2. So I'm gonna stay in this general area, but I wanna save this position for last. So I could go like 2-1, 2-1. I could go 3-2, 3-2. But generally speaking, the lower rungs, you wanna save for the targets if those are rungs that you feel comfortable on, and I do. One downside of going to the lower rung is you're in a sort of modified prone position. It's hard to get in and out of. So if you're someone who struggles with getting in and out of a very low modified prone, maybe you want to stick to these rungs. Maybe you don't like that at all. You don't like this kneeling position on rungs 2 and 3, like a high kneel and a low kneel, and you want to stand for the whole thing. That's fine too. Might make transitions easier, especially if you have a hard time, getting in and out of kneeling positions. But I generally think the lower you can go, the more stable you're going to be. So I'm going to go rung 2, 3, 2, 1. So starting here, can't repeat rungs, and then I want to kind of work with gravity, 3, 2, 1. And as we go down, the targets are getting smaller, I'm getting lower, hopefully more stable. We then have to go prone, so you're going to want a bipod, more than likely. So we're going to ask ourselves, getting in and out of the rungs with a bipod attached does offer a little bit more challenge. Usually I leave my bipod on for balance reasons anyway, but again, getting in and out of sort of ladder rungs, portholes, the pyramid, definitely something you want to be mindful of. So I'm going to leave that on here. What's nice is that we're not going to leave it deployed, obviously, because it's going to get in the way. What's nice about this Accutac here is that this is the fast deploy model, which means it doesn't have a 45-degree angle. So it's a quick 1-2 for deploying the bipod. There's no 40 notch here for the 45. So this is the FD4, fast deploy, 4-inch. Got some spiked feet on there. Different than the other models that have a 45. So it's just a quick snap and you're in position. So probably leave those a couple clicks out. And yeah, that's all there is to it. As far as gear goes, your favorite wedge-shaped bag to go on the ladder rungs. A flat bag would also work pretty well, attached to the rifle if you want to use one of those. And then for the lower positions, sometimes I do like bringing these pump pillows, just make it a super stable modified prone with rear support. But let's check out what this might look like in practice. All right, stage 2 practice. Let's see what this looks like. Start all gear in hand. I'll leave those down there just in case I want to bring them. But really it's just going to be wedge-shaped bag, get it nice and stable. If you have a high scope, you may have to turn your rifle sideways like that. So we're going to come in here at a modified kneeling position. This rung is probably where I could stack both these bags. Should get stupid stable. But otherwise it's going to be a kneeling position. This is going to be the 1-inch KYL. We're going to wait 2, 3, 4, because if you hit it, it's going to be spinning. Okay. Rifle sideways, kind of come out, grab the bag, up top, down here, shove the bag in. This is a high kneel, using my elbow and my thigh for extra stability. All right, we're already a minute down. I gotta stop talking and start shooting. Back down. As you can see, having the bag attached to the rifle would save it an extra step. Second smallest target. Find it, get stable. Time to wobble. 1, 2, 3. That might have been a miss. 30 seconds left, running out of time. So maybe the bags are too much gear to manage on the clock, but 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. We're gonna run out of time here. Quick deploy. And you can see I timed out. But once you get into that prone position, those last 2 shots are easy. So probably needed to hustle a little bit more at the beginning there instead of talking so much, but you get the idea. Pump pillows, maybe it's too much to manage on the clock. You know, as far as just putting your bag down, get it settled, get in here, you know, take a kneeling position. Lots of ways to get stable here without the rear support. Some people like to put their hand between the scope and the ladder. Some people like to butt up against the edge. So yeah, you just have to figure out what works for you. Obviously I timed out, so maybe that's not the way to go. Or maybe having a flat bag on the rifle, just so I don't have to move the rifle in the bag, I can just move the rifle. Probably the way I do it. But again, this is a stage where you kind of work backwards. What's your most stable rung? For me, it's the bottom. That means I want to end there on the string of 8 shots for the KYL rack. And then just work backwards from there. What's my second most stable rung? Okay, third most stable, or do I want to repeat? Anything like that. These are the things you have to think about before the match so that you come in with a game plan. And once you come up with a plan, stick to that plan. I see a lot of people try and change strategy mid-stage. Usually never works out for them. So go with the plan, stick with it. If it works, great. If it doesn't, you know, after the stage is over, think about what went wrong, what you could improve. But if you try and change things on the fly, seldom works in my experience. But yeah, let me know what you think about strategy for this stage, and let's jump into stage 3. All right, stage 3 is a prone stage. Usually we don't cover these just because they're relatively straightforward. This one's got a little bit of a twist when it comes to it. So we are going to talk about this one very quickly. Stage description for stage 3, Nothing Rhymes with Jeremy, is as follows. On the start signal, engage targets from a prone supported position. Targets 4-2, 3-1 with 2 shots each. Mandatory mag change. Targets 1, 2, 3, 4 with 1 shot each. So they're telling you where you have to do the mandatory magazine change. And I think that's going to trip a lot of people up, just because usually it's like, okay, perform a mag change before the last 2 shots, after the first shot, something like that. But there's a specific sequence to this, and this is the bonus stage. So you're going to get in the zone, and you're going to try and go fast for those bonus points, and you're going to forget that you have to do a mag change. So I have a couple strategies for here on how to go fast and how to not miss any points, miss the mag change, ruin your day, that kind of stuff. So here's what we're going to do. First of all, I think holdovers are a must here. We're going to pretty zoomed out so we can see the targets. That's the other thing, you know, getting confused as to which target is which. So we'll zoom out a little bit, and we're going to set our parallax probably for right around that 75-yard mark, which is midway between all the targets. And if you're zoomed out enough, you're not going to have too terribly dirty parallax. That's step 1. Step 2, holdovers. So I'm going to have a dope card. I have my dope listed out over here. Basically dial for the first target, which is the relatively smallest target. And we're going to hold over the rest. So 3/10, 1 mil, and 1.4 mils for me. And just remembering the target order. Now, when it comes to magazine changes, just to show all the lovely people at YouTube, these are empty magazines, just for demonstration purposes. So we're going to start, obviously, load and make ready command. We're going to start with a magazine in the rifle. And what's going to be unique about this is I'm only going to load this to 8 rounds. So after I take my 8th shot, and if I forget my mag change, I'm going to click. I'm not going to have any, you know, I'm going to put the bolt forward, and it's going to be empty chamber, and I'm just going to get a dry fire. There's, you know, nothing's going to come out. Now, if your magazines are reliable, and this is a CZ, so the magazines are pretty terribly reliable, never really had many issues, you know, you load it only with 8 rounds, and then your second magazine you can have as many as you want, but we only want 8 rounds in there so that if we go to take the 9th shot without doing the magazine change, basically we fire on an empty chamber. So it's going to prevent us from losing points that way. It's going to kill some time, but it's better than dropping an impact because you didn't do the magazine change. Other than that, yeah, that's kind of what I have. If you don't have a super reliable magazine, or you get jams, or you run a voodoo and something gets messed up, you just have to count your shots if you can't rely on your magazines, because What's interesting is that you have to do the magazine change after the 8th shot. So if you do a magazine change, let's say you loaded 8, you had a miss feed or double feed or whatever, you had to strip around, so you're down to 7. You go take the eighth shot, there's nothing in there, so you have to do a magazine change, shoot 1 round, and then you have to do another magazine change because you have to do a magazine change after the 8th shot. So if you're having mag problems, I feel bad for your son. I run a CZ, so I don't have any of those. I got 99 problems, but unreliable mags aren't one of them when it comes to the CZs. Famous last words to live by the way. I'm probably gonna have all kinds of mag problems in the future because of that. I just said that. But anyway, okay, so pretty simple stage. How to go fast. We're in a prone position. I'm gonna keep the magazine in my hand, and my bag in my hand. My rifle will be here. When the stage starts, I'm gonna drop this, I'm gonna put the rifle down, and I'm gonna put the magazine next to where I need to do the mag change. So instead of having it on my belt like I usually do, I want it as close by as possible. So let's see what this might look like in practice. So I have this is empty, but I have a fully loaded mag here. Load and make ready command has been given, so I have a magazine with 8 rounds in it. And we'll get to show off the MPA Vanquish magazine here. So let's run it. So timer goes beep, drop the bag, rifle down, get it settled. I'm gonna put this right next to my mag well. And we're starting 1.4 on 4, second shot, 0.3 on 2, second shot, 1 mil on 3, 3, straight up, drop the mag, 1, 2, 3, 4, holding 0.3, holding 0.1, holding 1.4. Okay, now obviously I'm doing that on dry fire targets. That was like, what, 45 seconds? The targets, if I hit them, are gonna be swinging. And they're probably not gonna be that close together. You're gonna have to do some target acquisition. But again, having that low magnification is gonna be able to help you find targets faster. And that little trick of just only having 8 rounds in case you forget, that might save you a point. And then when I start the stage, I'm gonna grab this and my bag. Instead of having this on my belt, fiddling braking position, as you saw, I'm in the rifle, right? It's just drop, reload, go, right? So having this right here at the start of the stage, when I put it down, I mean, that is smooth, you know? I can practice this all day. And I'm really not braking, you know, anything like that. Braking position, so not going back here, reaching back here, you know, getting off glass, anything like that. So just, I have this here, it's just drop and back in it. So a fast mag change, it's gonna save you some time, and that's probably one way you can do it, is having this in your hand at the start of the stage and just putting it right somewhere where you're comfortable when you put your rifle down and get going. So I think you can easily see this stage completed in 60 seconds or less. So, you know, if you're one of those top competitors that's looking for bonus points, and you know, you have a good idea that you're going to hit most of the targets, because speed does not make up for misses, but those are some tips and tricks to help you get a little bit faster, a little bit more efficient with the movement. And that's really all there is to this stage. So let's head on over to stage 4. All right, stage 4, Susie sloped surface and sawhorse. 10-round stage. Respect the target, 1.5 inch at 65 yards, about half a mil wide. So not too far away, but not a give me either. So we have a rooftop and we have everyone's favorite sawhorse. So on the start signal, engage the targets with 2 shots from the following position: top of sawhorse, shelf, and then 3 positions on the rooftop. Positions may be used in any order. So I think that's kind of key. Not having to go in line or in order as it's described in the course of fire. We have time to decide what we want to do. And I definitely think you can go with a 1-bag solution here, you know, put the bag at different places. If you are going to do that, you know, property of these wedge bags, like these Armageddon gear bags, is that, you know, this is how they normally sit on, you know, a barricade like this. But if you flip them over and you align that with the slope of the rooftop, it only almost creates like a little stair step. And that stair step is where you would put the rifle, in my opinion. So I see a lot of people kind of turning this sideways. It makes it difficult to get the rifle so that it's vertical and not induce a lot of cant. So think about this way. So you get yourself like a big, this is a OG Game Changer from Armageddon Gear. Wedge-shaped bag, turn it upside down, tits up, as we like to say. Tits up, but then the slope of the roof is almost going to create like a 90-degree shelf. So it kind of looks like that. So you have a nice little cradle right there to put your rifle. So if you want to do the bag way, this is kind of the bag position I would recommend. You know, it gives you a nice, stable, horizontal platform so you're not canting the rifle left and right. At 65 yards, inducing some cant is not going to make a huge difference, but you know, it could be enough to throw you off target. So that's my suggestion for doing it like that. I like 2 points of contact, technically 3. So I like bipod in the front, and the way I have my bipod oriented, basically, the SkyPods are really good at doing this, but even with the AccuTac, I'm going to loosen this up a little bit, and I'm just going to extend one leg fully. Since this roof is downward sloping to the right, I'm going to extend the right leg fully so that when I get on the rooftop, I can just, you know, basically come over here. If I want to, once I know the angle I want to shoot, I can tighten this up. I'll leave it a little loose at first just to give me some wiggle room, but just having those offset legs helps you get nice straight up and down just like that. So that's what we're going to do. And we're just going to use one bag for rear support, and then when we get to the sawhorse, I'll talk through that. But it's only a 10-round stage, 2 shots from each position, not too terrible. Let's see how this looks like in practice. We'll start the trigger cam here. And okay, so we're going to start all gear in hand. Timer goes beep. I'm going to start at the top here. I think it's an easier position. Get the bag going. 2 shots from here, nice and stable. It's basically modified prone. I'm starting from the top so I can work with gravity. So that was the top third. We'll call this the middle third. The spiked feet really help dig into the rooftop. Control the breathing. We're gonna take 2 shots there. Let's go to the lower third. After this, we're gonna go to the top of the sawhorse. But this one's a little bit more precarious depending on your flexibility. Two shots here. We have plenty of time. Leave the rifle there, get our bag situated. When I'm on a sawhorse, I like to position the bag on the top over one of the legs, and like so. I'm take a kneeling position here. That was the 1 minute warning. A little wobbly here. Time to wobble. Get the shot off. If you're experiencing wobble, try some more pressure, try some less pressure. Since I'm up here, it's a nice spot to drop that. Here, and turn the bag sideways on the shelf, give us a little bit more surface area. And now we're going to take another modified prone-ish position down here. This is a little bit more stable than the top of the sawhorse. All right, too much talking, not enough shooting, but we still got just enough time left on the clock. But bipod coming down here, went to the top of the sawhorse, used that opportunity to drop the bipod. You could turn your rifle sideways and scoot it in here, but going with gravity, getting some more of the stable positions done first helps you make sure that your wind calls are good. It's not you, it's the gun. It's not barricade wobble, anything like that. If you're nice and stable during the first shots of a stage, you can get more confident in your wind calls. So take your 6 shots here, working with gravity makes a lot of sense in my mind. I'm going to transition up here because it's going to give us a little bit more room to manipulate things like you saw, a little bit more room to drop the bipod. Or if I wanted to, I could have folded it up or something. And then it's probably the most unstable position here, and then the shelf is relatively stable. But if you go to the shelf first, again, that super low laying down modified prone position, that's low to the ground is very difficult to get out of. So that's why I wanted to end there. So those are some of the things that I thought about during this stage. Like I said, if you want to use just a simple bag, you can turn it this way, make yourself a little 90-degree shelf. So let's say we're on the bottom third of the rooftop. This just becomes a nice little step. I can hold on to the bag up here so it doesn't slide down, and put my hand over the top here. And I mean, this is super rock solid, and you're completely vertical, so you're not inducing a lot of cant into the rifle. So that's my tip if you want to do a bag, because I see a lot of people, they put their bag like they normally would, this way or sideways or something like that. And when you put your bag down, all of a sudden your gun's tipping over, you're fighting the bag. So bag this way, tits up, make yourself a staircase, and nice and stable there. I mean, the rifle sits perfectly flat. Yeah. So that's what I have for you on this stage. We got one more stage to go. Stay tuned. All right, welcome back. We're going to wrap up the October NRL22 Course of Fire Strategy Guide with Stage 5, Thompson's Tank, Trap, and Tripod. We have 3 targets, 2 at 100 yards, 1 at 50 yards. 1 inch at 50 yards, not terribly difficult, but definitely something to keep in mind, especially with the big difference between 50 and 100 yards. Parallax might become an issue. So think about those things as you're going through this stage. Let's read the stage description. It says, on the start signal gauge, targets with 2 shots each in the following order and manner. From the left tip, we're going to go to the right target. From the top of the tripod, we're going to go right, center, left. From the right tip, we're going to go left target. So I know they have the tripod and the tank trap next to each other, but I thought this was kind of a cool orientation here, putting the tripod in the middle. But yeah, this is one of those stages. Again, target order may mess people up. On the tips, you're going crisscross, so from left tip, right target, from the right tip, left target. You have to remember right, center, left. Now, it would be even more confusing if, they put the, 50-yard target way off to the left over here, and well, what's the left target, right? It should say, I'm assuming it should say left far target. The way the diagram shows, that's what they intended, but it should specify it's going to be the right far target, then right far target center, or near target left. You get the idea. Relatively straightforward, 10-round stage. It's just, don't get mixed up with the target order, and think about what you're going to do for the top of the tripod. So there shouldn't be a ball head on here. It should just be a flat sort of tight tripod base, depending on what tripod your club uses. Generally a bag on top of here is going to be fine, but if you haven't shot off of a tripod and a bag, it might be something a little new that you're not experienced with. But we're just going to run it. I'm going to dial for the far targets because we're only shooting the center target twice. So I'm going to dial and I'm going to hold under. So my dial is 1.8 for the far target. I'm going to be parallax for the far target, because we're engaging the far targets 8 times out of 10. And I have to use hold under, so you'll see me hold under at 1.8. I think I'm just going to go one bag. This should be a relatively straightforward stage. Again, the only tough part here is remembering the target order. So we're going to start left tip. Okay, so let's get the trigger cam going and get our timer going and see what this looks like in practice. I'm going to leave the bipod on there for balance. Just fold that up real quick. Okay, and yeah, we're going to start all gear in hand. Ready, steady, go. So from the left tip, we're going to go right target. Now we're dialed for this target, so it's going to be straight up 2 shots. Now from the center, or the tripod I should say, get that nice and settled. Nice little standing position. I'm going to spread legs so that we're nice and stable. Legs straight, straight, standing straight up. Lock the legs, lean into the rifle. 2 shots right. Here, I'm going to have to adjust parallax. I even have time to dial it down to 0. That's fine. I'll just dial everything. 1 shot center. One shot center. We're gonna look at our next target, adjust parallax, dial up 1.8, 2 shots left, and from the right tip, the left far target. We're still dialed in parallax for that target as the tank trap almost falls over. Ooh, okay, a little wobbly on the tank trap on this leg. Just take our time. Boom. So that was like 40 seconds remaining. So as you can see, you have plenty of time on this stage. So do your parallax, do your dial. I know I said I was gonna hold under, but it's before realizing I had a crap ton of time. Now, if your match director decides to put the tank trap here and put the tripod 10 yards down the firing line, that's a different story, right? So it kind of depends how it's set up. I kind of like this setup. Everything's nice and compact. You know, if range space is a premium at your range, you might want to set it up this way. It serves the same effect. And if everyone shoots it the same way, then there's nothing really anybody can complain about. So this is probably one of the easier stages of the day. Again, this whole match has been about double taps. So waiting for the targets to settle down is definitely going to be, factor that into your game plan. And it's going to be a little bit tricky, target orders, position orders, stuff like that. But overall, this is a pretty decent match. The size of the targets are relatively generous. There's like 1 or 2 targets per stage. Like the 50-yard target here is not a gimme. The 65-yard target, you know, 1.5 inch, it's not terrible. There are a couple like half mil targets in this match. Everything else is, you know, 8, 9/10 a full mil. So relatively generous in that sense. There's 1 or 2 targets per stage that are a little bit tiny, but I think this is a great, well-designed match. I think it gives a little bit of everything, a little bit of mental games, a little bit of position building, and a nice prone stage for the tiebreaker. See if you can run it and gun it. So remember those tricks about the, you know, loading only the mandatory number of 8 rounds in the first mag, in case you get too fast and too furious, that you won't send a round downrange without doing the mag change, because there won't be a round in the rifle. Other than that, let me know questions, comments down below. Best of luck at your matches, and I'll bring you match footage from this match coming up. So until I see you next time, as always, score more points.